superheroes. I'm Pink Phoenix, coming to you from Purdue University College of Veterinary Medicine's League of VetaHumanz. Today, our special guest on VetaHumanz Live is VetaHuman ZOO Vetinator. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This is so cool. This is my very first podcast, so I'm super excited.
I'm so glad that you could be here. To get us started, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually graduated from Purdue University in 2013. Whoop, go Boilermakers. And then after my graduating from Purdue with my DVM, I did a small animal rotating internship in a private practice on Long Island. And then I applied for a ton of different zoo internships, didn't get anything. So I thought, well, how am I going to keep my foot in the door? So I reached out to almost all of these zoos across the country, looking for like a volunteer opportunity. And one of them in one of them in Florida, Brevard Zoo, actually said, "Sure, come on down." And so I thought, sweet. So I went down to Florida and I got a job as a general small animal practitioner, and I also saw exotics in Orlando. And so I volunteered 2 days a week over at Brevard Zoo. And I did that for a couple of years. And while I was still doing that, I was still applying for internships. And so I finally then got a zoo internship with Indianapolis Zoo, and which was great because then I could be close to my alma mater, Purdue. And so I got to be able to speak to vet students while I was doing my internship. And then after my internship, I did a residency with Ohio State University, the Columbus Zoo, and the Wilds, and was able to get a master's out of that program. And then I went back to Florida, but I went to Tampa this time, and I was a relief veterinarian for Zoo Tampa. And then the pandemic hit, so that kind of put a little bit of a break on things, but then was able to get a job with San Antonio Zoo, which is where I currently am.
That's so cool. What a great path. What a great story. So your superhero name is ZOO Vetinator. Can you tell us the story behind that?
Yes, of course. Yeah, so I've been in love with, wildlife and zoo animals ever since I was a kid. My parents actually, I think it's in my bio, their very first date was at the Smithsonian Zoo in DC. And so their love for animals, trickled down to me. And, everyone has their hero of Jack Hanna, Steve Irwin. Mine was Marty Stauffer from PBS Wild America. And I remember watching him as a kid. And ever since then, I just fell in love with animals and wildlife, and just wanting to be able to be able to contribute and help with the ecosystems and environment ever since then. And that's one of my main goals, is to just be able to help the animals that are at zoos, because they are actual ambassadors for the ones that are in the wild. And it's really important to me, and I think it's important to a lot of zoo veterinarians, that we be able to try to get the word out about conservation and about One Health, and about how what we do can definitely impact the environment, and how we can be able to actually make a difference. So it's one of those things where even with the smallest of different kind of animal that's endangered, if setting off that balance of they die off, then there's that good potential that it could still affect us. And I want to be able to help to get that word out that what you do is important, and just being mindful, is something that we all try to do. And I just want to be able to just help people realize that these animals, they're here for a reason.
It's so important. I don't think people realize how much zoos contribute to the survival of species.
Yeah, we actually have this thing. It's called SSP, or Species Survival Plan, and it actually focuses on animals that are endangered or almost even about to go into extinction. And so, people think of the fact of zoos just being display for animals, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to help you understand of that these animals that are out in the wild, they're losing their home, they're losing it to deforestation for agriculture, or to industries. And so it's a way for us to be able to try to not only, educate the public, but also there's the potential. There's a lot of zoos around the country and the world that are trying to actually help with the population of animals. So, yes, we've seen now in the past couple of years, at least, giant pandas are starting to make a comeback. There are scimitar oryxes that are starting to make a comeback, and it's the fact of the matter that zoos are a huge part of a contribution to that. And because of that, people are too. So, the public is a huge contribution because they recognize it, and, they are helping with their donations or their volunteer time. And, it really does show as far as that humanity does care. And we just need to make sure that we still keep that message going across.
Absolutely. And I love that you shared what the public can do to help you do your job better.
Yeah, it's some, funny thing is that a lot of times people think, well, I'm just one person and I really can't do much. But, just the fact that you picked up a piece of trash, or, that you put a piece of bottle or plastic in recycling, or you decided, what, I'm going to use a homemade grocery bag, or I'm going to reuse something, that really actually does something. They may not necessarily realize it, but it really does make a difference. Or I'm actually going to cut up my Coke ring bottles, and so because you see the sea turtles that get their heads caught in it, or another type of wildlife get caught in it, and they decide to cut those, and it does make a difference.
Okay, folks, let's all commit to doing something that can make a difference to help the survival of a species today.
Yep, doesn't have to be much, you know. But yeah, that's kind of, and that's it's a kind of a long story short, but that's one of the reasons, one of the multiple reasons why I wanted to be a veterinarian in the zoo field.
So tell us what it's like to be a zoo vet. Is what you thought it would be like, what it really is like?
Yes and no. So I didn't expect to be in as many meetings as I am, but that's just kind of part of it in general. So I didn't really think of it that much. But outside of that, yeah, it's what I thought. My day is going from one different kind of animal, one kind of different species to another, and it's what I love about it. I go from an elephant to, a bird, to a fish, to a Komodo dragon, to a tiger. It's no 2 days are the same, and even within the day, it's different. It's maybe one's not wanting to eat, or one is having trouble laying an egg, or one is got a little bit of a wound on its finger. And so even within that, in that day, not only just the species, but the reasonings why I'm seeing these animals is different.
So, all the animals that you see, what's your favorite animal?
Oof, that's like the $1 million question, because I always get that, and it's always all these multitude of animals. I go from, like, I love elephants, and I love red pandas, and I love working with, I think the Komodo's dragons are super cool, and the venomous snakes and the birds, and it's all chocolate chip sea stars are stinking awesome. Oh my gosh. If you gotta look up chocolate chip sea stars, they are so cool.
I'm going to
Love
look
them.
them up.
Yes, it's so funny. I never thought that a sea star would be one of my favorite animals. And luckily, we have them at the San Antonio Zoo, and the aquarists were like looking at me like, "Why?" And I'm like, "They're so cool!" And they're like, "Well, I'm glad we have someone on board who loves them just as much as we do." I'm like, "I love chocolate chip sea stars."
Have you had any new babies at the zoo lately?
Yes, we've had a few new babies, and I think we have some animals that are pregnant. So we're waiting for them to pop. We have two, we call it Adra or they're Dama gazelles, the two females. So they're about to pop any moment. And then we have it's called a blue diker. We actually have two different species of diker, and both are endangered. One is yellowback and one is blue. And the blue, he's a little bit older now, but his name is so cool because it is Viazi, but it means potato. So, and it's so awesome. He's so cute. When he came out, that's what he looked like, just a little potato, and it was so cute. Oh my gosh, I loved how he looked. So, but then we also have our rhinos are breeding, and we're going to be eventually breeding our tigers. So, yeah, we're hopefully going to have some more babies come along. Oh, and we have also two the cutest kangaroo babies, cutest kangaroo
Oh,
joeys. Oh my gosh, they are so stinking cute.
I have the best job ever. So I have to ask, what types of meetings does a zoo vet go to?
Oh man, yeah. So it's, sometimes it's meetings of, and it's been because the San Antonio Zoo is getting a new face, so new entrance. So it's, the San Antonio Zoo is an older zoo, and so we're getting renovation, getting a new face. And so it's sitting on some of those meetings, sitting on meetings just with some of the curators, just to make sure everyone's on board, also kind of at least getting an idea of animals that were coming in, animals that are going to other zoos. So it's going to be those meetings. I have meetings then with just sort of staff in general, just to kind of go over the week. And every morning we have a morning rounds just to go over what we're supposed to go, what's going to be most likely happening for the day. But yeah, I'll have, like, at least it seems like a meeting a day, and I wasn't really expecting that. That at times. So I was like, oh, okay. I gotta make sure that I have, blocks off for these meetings. So,
It sounds like interesting meetings, though, if you have to go to meetings.
well, yes, they they are for the most part. They are interesting. So, get to hear about the, potential of animals that are coming in. So,
So it took a lot of persistence to get this career, to get where you are. And it doesn't stop. I hear you're studying for boards.
oh
Can
my gosh,
you
yes.
tell us about the specialty board process, what that is, and how you're
Yeah,
approaching that?
of course, yeah. So, when I finally kind of got into knowing that I could, finally be able to have my dream job as a zoo veterinarian, I thought, okay, well, I really wanted to be a diplomate for it's the American College of Zoo Medicine. And so I've been studying for that. There are two different tracks to go on that. So I am going down the experiential track. And so what that involves is you have to be a zoo veterinarian for at least 6 years in full time. If you're part time, it counts, but it may just take you a little bit longer to get to the credentials requirements. But what it is then is, and you don't have to be full time at one place, so it can be at other places. And if you had an internship, that actually counts as well. But it's going through that. The other track is residency track, and then both tracks, you have to have three first author papers that involve a non-domestic animal in a peer-reviewed journal. And then after that, then is, pretty much then just making sure that you have all your documents and ducks in a row for the application. And then the exam is usually around in October. And then it is 2 days. So your first day is considered as more of your qualifier. And then your second day would be your certification. So your second day would then be more of a actual subspecialty. So there are multiple subspecialties within the College of Zoo Medicine. You have general zoo, aquatics, wildlife, and then also zoological companion animal. And so you can subspecialize. And so your questions for day two are going to be harder, but they're also then more tailored to then what you're wanting to have your subspecialty in. So it's a very hard exam because it's going over so many things, and you read so many books and so many materials and journal articles because it's over the 5 years that you're taking the exam. So for me, I'm taking it this year. So it goes from 2017 all the way through pretty much some of 2022, sorry. So yeah, so it's a lot of material, but gotta,
Uh,
gotta study as much as possible and just hope for the best.
I can't imagine. Pig boards were hard, and I just have one species to learn. But
And
it's
pigs
worth
are on
it.
my boards. Yeah,
Oh
and pigs are
yeah,
gonna be
you
on
have
my
pigs.
yeah. I have
Oh
pigs.
wow. So have you started writing your papers yet, or have you written them?
Yeah, so I actually have five. I'm still
I,
having more to hopefully, yeah. Well, originally it was five, so it was originally five papers, and then they helped out people who weren't able to get to that fifth one, and so they said, okay, well, you know what, we'll cut it down to three, but it's got to be three really good ones. So when I was first starting out, I somehow or another got mixed up, and I thought, oh, you have to have five or like because they said that one of them can be a case report. It doesn't have to be an original study. But I thought when I was going through this, it had to be four original studies and only one of them can be a case report. So I'm trying my hardest, to early on, in all of this to get as many of these studies and get as help, try to do whatever I can. And then I think it was after my second one, I had said something like this, and someone gave me this look like, what, are you crazy? No. And they said it only has to be that one of them has to be an original study. The others can, and I was looking at them like, you gotta be kidding me. And at this point, I had already been going, in the process of submitting my third original. So I was just like, oh, well, I was like, well, it's okay. I'm trying to contribute to the veterinary medicine in general, so it's fine. So,
every paper
but
contributes and helps everyone. So what were your
right.
topics?
So my topics were one of them is looking at fecal analysis and how freezing and not freezing can affect salmonella for Indian star tortoises. So that was my very first one. And then my second one was it was a retrospective paper, and it was looking at diseases and conditions and reasonings why rock hyraxes die. So rock hyraxes, they're one of my favorites. Okay, so they are definitely one of my favorites. They are like little potatoes on just like they parkour all over the place. They are just parkour potatoes. They are super cute. If you look them up, rock hyrax, the funny thing is that their closest relatives is the elephant and the manatee. And yeah, it's like, okay, wait a minute, that makes no sense whatsoever. But especially when you look at them, because they just look like a little potato rodent, like a little, like they look like you would think like a guinea pig or like some sort of rodent was going to be their closest relative. No, a big, huge elephant is their closest relative. So yeah, they're super cool. So that was my second paper. And then my third paper was about a type of cancer in a Florida scrub blue jay. And then my fourth paper was looking at uterine abnormalities for two orangutans. And then my fifth paper was doing a pharmacokinetic study on alfaxalone in mallard ducks. And it's still right it's the very it was I was super proud of that one because it was a pain in the butt. I have mallard ducks. I slightly have PTSD with them because I dealt with a lot of mallard ducks, but I still love mallards, and yeah, it was the very first for just an avian species in general to do a pharmacokinetic study of that drug in any avian species, at least that I was aware of.
That's
So that was pretty cool.
excellent. Well, I
Yeah.
have no doubt that you will be successful in passing your boards.
Thank you.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. The League of VetaHumanz' major mission is to support diversity in veterinary medicine, and I know that this is a topic that you are very passionate about. Can you share your thoughts on why this is so important and what you're doing to support this mission?
Yes. So, so obviously, since this is a podcast, you can't really see of my what I look like, but you can look at my bio. So, I am Korean. I'm actually adopted, and so diversity and just inclusion is important to me. My parents didn't necessarily teach me as far as well. This is how this because of your skin color, because of how you look. This is what you're only able to do. They were to me of the world's your oyster. You can be whatever you want to. They're amazing because they never were really hard on I was very hard on myself when it came to my grades, but they were amazing because they said, you're doing as long as you're doing your best, that's what matters, and you doing what you love, that's what matters. So, for me to be able to make it, to be able to work as hard as I have been, and I came from, my parents were middle class, and went to public schools, went to public colleges. I didn't go to Ivy League, and to be able to make it to where being my dreams, I want to be able to represent that you can still do it. It's just a matter of finding your path, finding of what you really wanting to do, your passion, and go for it. And if you find out that this isn't something that you want to do, that's okay. You can be able to go into another path. That's one of the beauties of veterinary medicine, is be able, there's so many avenues that you can go down. And this is one of the things that I like to be able to tell veterinary students, because zoo medicine is very hard. It's not something that is easy, because everyone wants to do it, and I get it. I definitely get a why, and it's competitive. But it's okay if you don't get to that point. You're still a veterinarian. You still get to be able to help people and help their animals. And so there's other ways to be able to still have a foot in the door with zoo medicine or with exotics, and still be able to try to keep your passion alive. And that's definitely important. And I want to be able to show that, me being an adopted Korean and from middle class, that it's still a possibility. My parents, they're very loving people, and they gave me what they could, but at the same time, I didn't come from money. I had to hustle. I had to work to get to where I am, and so it's a possibility. You just, everybody you got to work a little bit harder to get to where you really want to be. But in the end, the reward is so much better because you earned it. So I am super happy of where I am because I earned of where I am. So, and I think it's just a way to be able to say that you can do it. I'm a part of the Association of Minority Zoo Aquarium Professionals, and I actually am a mentor for any pre-vet students or vet students who are minorities. I actually attended and spoke on a panel at it's the Multicultural Association of Veterinary Medicine. So I was on I was panelist for a talk for them, and being a part of VetaHumanz as well, I think is great, just to be able to just get a face out there, just to be able to show, and networking. And I'm someone who is I'm on my emails. I can be able to email anybody and help them out and give them any advice that I can.
Well, you're certainly an amazing role model. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing.
Oh, thanks. I try.
It's awesome. How has the pandemic impacted your professional life?
So yeah, it took it actually was funny. It affected me professionally in terms of, initially when this all happened, I was actually in the process of applying for jobs, and honestly enough, it actually, the pandemic didn't necessarily affect as far as how many zoos needed veterinarians, but for me, it definitely, it was because it's tough with zoos, because they do want what's best fit for their staff, what's the best fit for their mission, and sometimes It's not necessarily that you did anything wrong or that you were incompetent or anything. It's just you just weren't the right fit. And over time, it kind of, in a way, though, takes a toll, and you're not doing anything. You feel like you're not doing anything. You're just, even though you are, when we had the lockdown initially, I think it was tough because I just didn't feel like I was doing any much of a contribution, even though in a way I was, because I was being, quarantining myself. So during when this whole thing started, and and so for me it was along the lines of, what am I doing? Like, what is my life contribution here? And it was tough. My mental health, as much as anyone's did, to kind of, had came to the front because I knew I needed to take care of that in order to be able to push through each rejection, push through each of, well, thank you so much for applying. We're actually going to go with someone else. Or, I went through over 30 zoo applications. I had interviews with at least 30 of, I was close to 40, I want to say. I think I had first round interviews with at least 30 of them. I had second round interviews with around maybe 10. And there were a fair amount, maybe like 4 or 5, where I was in the top two. And so you go through all of that and you get told no, And this was, it took 8 months before I got offered a position at San Antonio. And, 8 months of no, 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 no. Well, it can kind of, in a way, take a toll. So I had to each day keep reminding myself that this is just a closing door to a way another door opens that's going to be the right one for me. And it was totally right. It really, things happen for a reason in my mind, and it totally was the reason. I was supposed to come to San Antonio. And I think, for veterinarians that are out there that are in the small animal business, or students that are about to graduate, and, or anyone who doesn't match is coming up soon. I know that. And those that don't match, it's okay, and take care of yourself. Allow yourself to feel that emotion of disappointment, but it's okay. You can be able to pick yourself up, take care of yourself, go for a walk, cook, bake, call your friends, call your family. It's okay if that you get upset about that. Allow yourself to get upset. I think it used to be where, you kind of have that old school of, well, knock on your hat and then pick up and get going. But I think nowadays it's better for our mental health. Allow yourself to have that emotion. Allow yourself to be sad. And then once you have finished with that, then you can say, okay, what's my next thing to do? And keep going. And having a really strong support system is super important. It's one of the things for me that kept me going during that pandemic, is having a strong support system. And it wasn't just my parents; it was friends from all over the country, my vet school family. They're there for you. They're always there for you. And it's been now 9 years, pretty close to 9 years since I graduated. And I'm still friends with so many of my classmates. We're family. It's Purdue family. So it's important to have that. My rotating internship, they're family. They're also, one of my families. So, as time goes on, it's so important to have those kind of things. And as veterinarians in general, with, like I said, if you're in small animal, it's so important to be able to have that support system and reach out. It's okay. We're all here for each other. If you're having a bad day, if you're, having like a really bad week, it's okay to reach out and talk to us. We're all here for each other. We want you to, feel like you have a purpose in life, and you do. You're helping whether you may not always feel like it because you're constantly getting yelled at, or things aren't going as well with an animal, but you're doing your best, and you just need to be able to know that it's okay, that we're here for you.
Such an important message. You are spot on. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course, anytime. And that's one of the biggest things that I tell any vet student that comes through and does a program, or every time I go out and talk to students, I very much make sure that they're okay with their mental health and let them know like it's okay, and don't forget to take care of yourself. That's very important because if you don't take care of yourself, then who's going to take care of the animals?
Absolutely. So on those same lines, what do you do for fun?
So for fun, I work out and I go for walks. Love to go hiking and kayaking. And then I also do that though because I love to eat. So I love food. I love food. So I like to explore cities and like to try different local restaurants, and then I also enjoy, just having, just being outside and enjoying the nice weather. Um, so those are usually, I also do like to bake. So I got into that from the British baking show. So I've been doing a lot of baking, and I did a fair amount during the pandemic. So, yeah, so I enjoy that. My parents got me like a really nice KitchenAid mixer, and
Oh,
yeah, I've been using that thing a lot. So yeah, it's really nice. I've been doing a lot of baking. I actually have to take it to work because my boyfriend doesn't want to get fat, so I have to take it to work whenever I do my baking.
it's good. Spread the joy.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell
But
us
yeah.
about your superpowers and how you're using them to inspire others through the League of VetaHumans beyond this
Ah.
podcast, which is
Ah.
absolutely incredible.
So, my superpowers I try to do is try to just get the word out about zoo medicine, and not only just to the public, but also try to inspire and motivate and vet students. So, a lot of vet students, they want to be zoo veterinarians, and that's definitely a great ambition to have. But they're also super worried about, well, what happens if I don't? And what do I do? And this is what I really wanted to do. And so part of my superpower is to help them realize that there are so many avenues, not just for veterinary medicine, but even for zoo medicine. So my superpowers would be to just let them know, well, what else do you like? Do you like cardiology? Do you like dentistry? Do you like skin and dermatology? And letting them know that, there's actually other ways to still be able to work with a zoo and work with zoo animals. And if for any reason or other you don't get into being into zoo medicine. And so that's part of my superpower, is to let them know that there are other avenues, or there's so many of the smaller zoos that they need a just contract veterinarian. So you can be able to be a zoo vet and you go to the zoo once a week. You do your small animal job the other times, and you go to the zoo once a week, and you still see the animals, and they still need you because they just don't. They're not a big enough zoo to be able to hire and afford a full time veterinarian, but they need someone. So who they hire? They hire you. And so there's a ton of these like smaller zoos that it really could just use someone like that. And so you get your fix for, you get to be like, yes, on Wednesdays, I'm going to the zoo. And so that's just kind of really nice to be able to, keep going through the week. And, there's all kinds of different avenues, and I just want it to be where students, if they don't get into zoo medicine, get so frustrated that when they are in whatever they wind up being, that it I don't want it to be where they lose passion in veterinary medicine in general. And so I just try to let them know that, hey, it's okay. And also too, with the whole thing with match. So my superpower is also about the match process. So I have been through the match process, which is the matches for internships and residencies. And what it does is you apply for all these different places, and it's all in one area. And then you have one application, and it goes out to all the places that you wanted to send it to. And then they then rank you. So you rank them, they rank you, and then the match is supposed to be where it matches up. So that way the applicant gets the pick of their choice. Well, I've gone through it like 3 times, and 3 times never matched. So even my small animal internship, which There are, I think, at least over 200 programs in the country, and I didn't get a single one. So it's kind of in a way just letting students know, don't worry about if you're doing for a small animal internship, it's okay. Because I didn't match, and look where I am. I never
Yeah.
matched. And
That
never
goes back
matched.
to everything happens for a reason, right? You
Mm-hmm.
are
Yeah,
exactly where you're supposed to be.
exactly. Yeah. So it's I just and when you see their face of, oh, wow, really? Oh, okay. Then they don't get so stressed out about it. And that's what I like to see. That's part of my superpower is trying to decrease their stress about that. Same thing with the national boards, just to be even become a veterinarian, just letting them know. Just do your stuff as much as you can, do as best your best job as you can, you'll be okay. And yep, sure enough, they don't stress about it as much. So that's part of my superpower.
That's great advice. Well, this entire podcast has been so inspiring. Before we sign off, do you have any other inspirational messages for aspiring veterinarians out there?
Yeah. So for all you aspiring veterinarians out there, reach for whatever you as far as you can. So just you have great potential. You are going to do great things. You are going to be able to help people, help animals. And that is something that no one else can take away from you. You are one of the most selfless people because of the fact that you are devoting so much of your time, so much of your energy to help other people and helping their animals. So keep up the good work on that. You're definitely going to go far.
Excellent. It has been completely energizing to talk to you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
thanks.
much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Okay, folks, you got to check out the San Antonio Zoo website and learn more. And you can also learn more about other League of VetaHumanz superheroes at VetaHumanz.org. If you like this episode, please subscribe, rate, and share it with your friends. And remember, use your powers for good.